What's up, guys? Peter Von Panda here. Hey, want to show you something I bought. It's from Caravan Canopy, and it's an 8 foot by 8 foot Evo Shade Instant Canopy tent. This one is in blue. It's a white framed kind of pop-up tent that provides shade, maybe a little bit of protection from the elements, maybe light precipitation, that kind of thing. You're probably familiar with those pop-up tents that you see at fairs or at farmers markets, you know, kind of the square white ones. They're very popular and a great tent too, but they're a little bit large. As I took a look at what's in the box, you obviously have the tent. It comes with the white frame, which is kind of like this deployable scissor frame, which is pretty similar. You also have separately the cover, which looks like a waterproof fly for a tent. It's just kind of a big nylon sheet. It's blue and it has a silver under side coating. It comes with 4 small wire tent stakes, but that's going to be nice if you're setting it up on grass or a soft surface where you can stake the feet into the ground. But it also does come, which I really liked, with 4 nylon sandbags. So basically they are just kind of a 2-pouch bag that you would fill with sand or rocks. They have some Velcro loops so that you can attach it to the leg of the tent, and then there's a larger Velcro loop so that you can kind of secure it around the leg, but that'll hold it down in place, you know, especially on a windy day. Setting this thing up can certainly be a one-person job. It's actually kind of made for that. The white aluminum frame has one arm on it with a yellow handle, and so what you actually want to do is pull on that yellow handle, and what I noticed is you have to lift everything up so that you only have the leg directly opposite of the yellow handle on the ground. Otherwise, it's not going to open up. The other 2 legs are going to cause too much drag. But as you kind of walk it back, the whole thing will kind of scissor open. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do here was put the roof on first, or the nylon tent on first. And I also want to see later if I can collapse the whole thing with the tent on it as well, so that when I do use this and take it out to tailgating, if I can just have it already set up as opposed to putting on the nylon tarp each time. So one thing that I noticed is that each corner of the nylon tarp has not only a little elastic loop which kind of goes over the protruding bar at each corner, but then they also have kind of a reinforced white pocket sewn into the corner, and that goes over the end of the white bar to kind of keep it braced in place. So that's pretty nice for all 3 corners. Now, the one corner that doesn't do that is the one with the yellow handle. So on the yellow plastic handle, there's a little hook, and on that particular corner, you actually just have a little nylon loop. And so you want to loop that over the handle and brace that in, and then you want to attach the other 3 corners. And then you can pull on that yellow handle and expand it all the way out. Now, in this video, what I kind of realized I didn't do is I did not expand it all the way like I should have. In fact, the canopy tent part is almost essentially flat. When I set it up, it did have a little bit of an overhang because those corner bars are actually kind of tilted down towards the ground a little bit. In fact, when you pull this thing all the way out to its full width, the corner bars end up kind of pointing to the sky just a little bit, and so it kind of splays the tent canopy out a little more like a roof instead of more of like a tent. Now, obviously, the tent isn't at its maximum height, and it looks more like a table at this point when you've got it extended all the way out. So what you have to do is extend the legs. There's 3 telescoping sections of the legs, and you pull them out just like you would any kind of telescoping selfie stick or tent pole. The bottom section only has one position, so you extend it all the way out, and it locks in place with a little button lock. The middle section that pulls out of the top section actually has 3 positions. So to extend it to the top, the highest it'll go, which is 8 feet apparently, you'll want to push in that little button and slide it down to obviously the 3rd hole. That'll give you the max height on this tent, which is really a comfortable height, no problems walking underneath it, and does provide nice shade. Now, when you look up at the tent, it doesn't actually look silver. You know, one of the things that I kind of liked about that silver lining is if you're using this for camping and you're sitting underneath it and you have a lantern or something like that, I would think the silver would reflect that light down and not give everything a blue hue. But as you're looking up into the tent, obviously with the sunlight coming through it, it does look blue, and you can't really tell that the silver is there. A couple other things that I want to point out is that the feet of the tent poles are actually pretty unique. So instead of just being a post with a flat, square, or fixed bottom, these are actually like on a ball joint, and so they can rotate around. And this is because you can actually tilt the tent one way if the sun is coming at you at a low angle, or if you're on uneven ground or maybe a slope or something and you want the top of the tent flat. So it's pretty nice that not only can you adjust each of the legs independently, but then the foot will actually adjust as well so that you get a nice flat surface, which prevents you from being limited to using it on flat surfaces like concrete. Now, as I take a look at the tent, and I think it's going to work perfectly for tailgating. It could actually work for fairs and craft shows and farmers markets too. But what I really like about it is that, one, it's, like I said, a smaller footprint, so you can use it in a smaller area. So if the 10 by 10s, which can be pretty large, aren't the right size for you, this 8 by 8 kind of creates a little more compact size but gives you plenty of shaded area to work in. The other thing I like is that the roof is much more flat than the regular canopy tents, which are more like, they look more like circus or event tents and have a little bit more of a draped edge to them. And what that tends to do to me is it kind of makes things look more like they're inside the tent or outside the tent. So this is a little bit more inviting in a lot of ways, I think, than some of the other canopy tents. The last thing I wanted to do is check and see, as I mentioned, can I collapse the tent and keep the canopy on it? Do I have to remove that every time? So the first thing you'll have to do is collapse the legs again, and this takes a little bit of doing because the tent kind of wants to collapse on you as you're retracting the telescoping legs. Again, I'm doing this as a one-person job, so it's absolutely possible to deploy it and to break it down with one person, but having an extra person or two certainly is going to make this a lot easier. So what I did is I ended up collapsing the legs in order so that one end wasn't on the ground. You could do it however you like, and then once you get it down to the lowest height setting, you kind of pull the extending arms back down towards the ground a little bit and then collapse the thing, just reverse the process and let it scissor closed. And what I noticed here is that the canopy tent kind of fit into the open spaces pretty nicely. It does create a little bit of extra material there, so it doesn't collapse quite as tightly as it did when it was in the box, but you can absolutely, apparently, keep the canopy on there on the frame itself as you're collapsing it down. And then it did go into the bag. It's nice that you can put it all together in the bag, and so the next time you're deploying it for your next event, it's going to be a lot easier. Now, the Caravan Canopy, the 8x8 Evo Shade, was one of the cheapest canopy tents I could find. I picked this one up on Amazon for $66. Now, that doesn't include any separate weights that you might want to buy for the feet. You can certainly use the included bags with rocks and or sand, but for $66, I think this is a steal, and it's just a more compact shade that's going to be a little easier to carry around and not require as much real estate when you're using it. Check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description. Peter Von Panda, out.